The little girl thought no one could see her. The snow came down so hard that the gas station's lights blurred into halos, and she moved fast along the side of the building, a bundle pressed tight against her chest under her coat. From the cab of his truck, a man watched her crouch behind the propane cage and ease the bundle down into a cardboard box she'd hidden there. A puppy. One back leg held wrong against its body. The girl pulled off her own scarf and tucked it around the animal, then looked over both shoulders the way someone looks when they have learned that being seen gets things taken away. The man in the truck did not move. He did not call out. He had learned a long time ago that the first thing you do is watch. Before we continue, tell us where you're watching from in the comments below. If this story moves you, please subscribe and stay until the very end. What you're about to hear will restore your faith in the people who are still out there, quietly paying attention. Let's see how far this journey takes us together. His name was Nathan Hayes, and he was 43 years old, built lean and hard through the shoulders the way men stay built when the habit outlives the reason. His hair had gone iron gray, cropped close. A faded scar ran along the back of one hand and disappeared into his sleeve, the kind of mark a man stops explaining after the 10th time someone asks. But it was the eyes that made people glance away. Pale steel blue that seemed to measure exits, hands, voices, and danger without asking permission. And then, having measured, let you be. He moved through the world with the permanent stillness of a man who had nothing left to prove. Not aggression, its opposite. He was not unfriendly by nature. Life had simply sanded down the parts of him that used to speak first. He watched more than he talked. And when he finally did move, he moved all at once, the way still water becomes a flood. Afghanistan had taken friends. The years after had taken the illusion that peace meant quiet. Now Nathan lived in the narrow space between discipline and distance, in a county where nobody knew his name. And that was exactly how he'd wanted it. Nathan had served 14 years in the Navy, the last 9 as a SEAL with 3 deployments, 2 to Helmand Province and 1 he didn't talk about. He'd left after a compound breach outside Sangin had killed 2 men he'd trained with and put enough metal in his back that the doctors had spent 6 hours sorting out what to leave in. The discharge had come with a folded flag for another man's mother and a stiffness in his spine that came alive on cold nights. He had carried more men than he could comfortably count. And he had come home to a country that thanked him in airports and forgot him on every road in between. What he carried was simple and heavy. He had spent 14 years standing between people who couldn't protect themselves and the men who wanted to hurt them. And then the Navy had told him he was finished. And he had never worked out what a man like him was supposed to do with the rest of a life that no longer needed him. So he'd bought 40 acres in northern Wisconsin and a plow contract. And he fixed what was broken, because at least a man could finish that. The German shepherd watching the girl from the passenger seat was named Ranger. He was 6 years old, 90 pounds of black and rich amber. His coat darkened along the spine and across both ears. His body built like something assembled for a single purpose. His right ear carried a clean notch where shrapnel had passed through it on a road outside Sangin, an inch from ending him. He moved with the clean, controlled confidence of a trained canine who had long ago learned the difference between noise and threat. And he wasted nothing. No motion, no sound, no attention that wasn't earned. Ranger had been Nathan's partner on the last 2 tours. Nathan had spent 8 months fighting the bureaucracy to adopt him after the discharge, filing the same forms over and over until someone signed off just to be rid of him. Ranger had never left his side since. He was routine, warning system, witness, and in the lonelier corners of the last few years, the closest thing Nathan had let himself call family. And right now, Ranger was up off the seat, nose to the glass, his whole body leaning toward the small figure behind the propane cage. Not the low sound he made for a threat, but the soft, urgent pull he made when something out there needed help. The town was called Birch Run, tucked into the frozen edge of northern Wisconsin, where the pines stood black against a white sky and the wind came off the lake with teeth in it. That night, the snow lay thick and silent over everything, and the radio had been saying blizzard since noon. The kind of freeze that makes the world smaller and pulls every living thing inward toward whatever warmth it can find. The gas station at the edge of town was the last lit thing before the county road ran out into dark farmland. Breath turned visible even inside the cab. Out here, a person could be in real trouble for a long time before anyone happened by. And a small girl hiding a hurt animal in a cardboard box behind a propane cage in a blizzard was about as much trouble as Nathan had seen in a while. The man who ran the gas station was named Wade Coyle, and he owned more of Birch Run than the pumps. His family had run the grain elevator and the hardware store back when the town still had both. And his name sat on the bank's board and the county zoning commission. Wade managed 4 rental properties, held the snow removal contract for the school district, and had a way of making code violations vanish and permits appear. People in Birch Run smiled at him at the diner and did not say what they thought when he passed. He'd learned early that consequences were for other people, and 48 years had taught him nothing to the contrary. The puppy in the box was his problem to have caused. One of his barn dogs had thrown a litter he hadn't wanted, and Wade had a simple way of handling things he hadn't wanted. The girl had found the pup near the road 2 days back, its leg already broken, half frozen, and she had been keeping it alive behind the propane cage with scraps and her own scarf, because the alternative was watching Wade Coyle finish what he'd started. What people knew about Wade was that he'd once shut off the heat in a rental in February to force out a tenant behind on rent, an old man who'd spent 3 nights at the church. What they knew was that the fellow who'd tried to report him to the county had lost his plow contract the next week. What they knew was that you did not cross Wade Coyle, and so when they saw a child slipping around the side of his building in a storm, they kept their eyes on the pumps. The girl was 8, small for it, with dark, serious eyes and a way of holding her chin level that did not match the rest of her. Her name was Lily. Her mother cleaned rooms at the Highway Motel and worked a second shift 3 nights a week, which meant Lily walked home alone in the dark down the county road. Past the gas station, past the propane cage where she'd hidden the only thing in the world that needed her more than she needed anything. She did not cry where people could see. She had learned that the truth made adults uncomfortable, and that uncomfortable adults went away. She had been keeping a dying puppy alive by herself for 2 days. She had told no one. She had decided, in the way children decide things with their whole hearts, that if she could just keep him warm until the storm broke, she could figure out the rest. She had a plan. It was a bad plan, the kind only a brave child makes, and she was carrying it out alone in a blizzard. Nathan watched her finish tucking the scarf, watched her press her small hand flat against the side of the box for a moment, like a promise, and then watched the gas station door open and Wade Coyle step out into the cold with a flashlight, sweeping it along the side of his building. Nathan got out of the truck. The cold hit him like a wall, and he didn't feel it. "Evening," he said. Just that. Wade swung the light toward him, annoyed. "We're closing. Pumps on card only." "Saw a kid go around the side," Nathan said, his voice even, almost gentle. "Storm like this. Wanted to be sure she got home. That's the Dawson girl. She's a nuisance hanging around back there." Wade's light found the propane cage, found the box, found the small bundle inside it. His mouth thinned. "And that That's getting dealt with tonight. Behind him, the girl had come around the corner and frozen at the sight of the flashlight on her secret. Her eyes went huge. In the truck, Ranger was standing on the seat now, nose against the glass, and the sound he made had stopped being a pull and become something steadier, more certain. Nathan looked from the man to the flashlight, to the shivering box, to the child standing rigid in the falling snow, and his whole body went very quiet, the way it used to go quiet right before everything happened at once. "What's the puppy's name?" Nathan asked. "Not the man, the girl." "Don't talk to her," Wade said. "What's his name?" Nathan said again. The same gentleness, and it landed differently this time. "Scout," Lily whispered. Nathan crouched down in the snow, lowering himself to her height. He looked into the box. The pup lifted its head, the broken leg held wrong, and looked back at him. And then, weak as it was, its tail moved once against the cardboard. Wade Coyle did not walk away, because men like Wade Coyle never walk away from something they believe they own. Over the days that followed, Nathan learned the shape of it. He'd taken the pup to a vet 2 towns over that same night, paid for the leg to be set, and brought it back recovering. And each time he came near Birch Run, he learned a little more. He learned about the heat shut off on the old man in February. He learned Wade sat on the zoning board with the very people meant to keep him honest. He learned that Lily's mother had asked Wade for 2 more days on the rent the month before, and that Wade had answered by raising it. The ally arrived in the form of the vet's wife, a woman named Carol Briggs, who tracked Nathan down at the feed store. "You're the one who brought in the Coyle pup," she said. It wasn't a question. Carol had watched Wade Coyle squeeze this town for 15 years and had run out of people who'd listen. She told Nathan that the humane officer's complaints against Wade kept getting closed at the county level. She gave him a name, a state conservation warden named Walsh, 2 counties over, who didn't owe Wade Coyle anything and had been wanting a reason for a long time. Ranger felt the shift before Nathan named it. When they passed the gas station now, the dog sat rigid, eyes locked on the propane cage, utterly still. And when Nathan parked and Lily came down the road from the motel, Ranger left the truck without being released and walked straight to the girl and lay down against her in the snow. His big body curved around her small one like a wall and would not be called off. Nathan let him stay. For the first time in days, Lily Dawson sat down in the cold and went still and let something else stand guard. Nathan made the call to Warden Walsh that night and laid it out flat. The animal cruelty, the litter, the pattern of complaints, the heat shut off in February, the rent. He didn't raise his voice. He'd been trained to brief command, and he briefed it. "You've done this before," Walsh said. "Seen enough of it," Nathan said. Wade Coyle moved first, the way the powerful always do when they feel the ground shift. He called Lily's mother into the gas station office on a Saturday morning and told her, with the door open so others could hear, that he knew her girl had been stealing from him, feeding a stray off his property, trespassing behind his building night after night, and that he could make it a police matter, or her mother could see that the child and that animal stayed off his land for good. He'd timed it for an hour. Nathan's plow route didn't run. He had not counted on the child being braver than he was. Lily did not cry. She stood in the office holding her chin level and understood, with the terrible clarity children in these situations always have, that the one warm living thing she'd saved was about to be taken anyway, and that no one was coming. So she did the only thing left. She walked out the office door into the storm, around the side of the building, and put herself between the propane cage and the man, and she would not move. Wade came after her. He reached for the box, And then a dusty plow truck pulled into the lot, an hour off its route, because 14 years of habit and one sleepless night had told a man named Nathan Hayes to check on something he couldn't stop thinking about. Ranger was out of the truck before it fully stopped. He crossed the snow in a dead silent line and put himself between Wade Coyle and the child. And he lay flat in front of the box, 90 pounds of decision, hackles up in a ridge down his spine, amber eyes fixed on Wade with the steady, terrible patience of an animal that had worked checkpoints in a war and knew exactly what a bad man looked like. He did not bark. He did not lunge. He simply would not let the man pass. Nathan crossed the lot slowly, snow crunching under his boots, and nobody moved. "Step back from the girl," Nathan said. Wade turned, his face already rearranging itself into outrage. "This is my property, and that child is trespassing, and you are about to make a very expensive mistake." "You have any idea who I am in this county?" "Senior Chief Petty Officer Nathan Hayes," Nathan said. "United States Navy. 14 years, 3 deployments. 9 of those years I had exactly one job, standing between people who couldn't protect themselves and the men who wanted to hurt them." He stopped a few feet away. "So no, I don't much care who you are in this county. You're trespassing too. Warden Walsh is 30 minutes out with a county humane officer and a deputy who doesn't sit on your board," Nathan said in the same flat, unhurried voice. "He's got the cruelty complaint, the litter, the heat you shut off on Harold Tays in February, and a statement from this girl's mother about the rent. He's got the closed complaints too. And who closed them?" He let that settle in the cold air. "You get one chance to do the right thing. Step back from the child. Don't touch that dog." Wade's voice climbed. "You can't prove a thing. My family built this town. I will have your contract, your truck, and that animal put down by the—" "This isn't over," Wade tried. But the words came out smaller than the ones before them. It was over. He just hadn't caught up to it yet. The county vehicles came up the county road in a line, headlights cutting the storm, and Warden Walsh got out unhurried with 2 others. And the look on his face was the look of a man who'd been waiting a long time for a legal reason. The humane officer went to the box and knelt and lifted the scarf and went very still at what she found. The deputy read Wade Coyle his rights in his own gas station lot, in front of the clerk and a trucker who'd pulled in for fuel, and a neighbor and another. The quiet town that had kept its eyes on the pumps now standing in the snow, watching. A woman near the door covered her mouth with her glove. Nobody spoke for a long time after that. Nathan didn't watch the arrest. He'd crouched back down in the snow beside Lily, where she stood with both hands on the box, and Ranger leaned his whole weight against her. And the pup looked up at all of them and moved its tail against the cardboard. Lily looked up at Nathan, and her chin trembled for the first time, just once, before she got it level again. "Can I keep him?" she asked. Nathan looked at the dog standing guard, and at the pup in the box, and at the girl. "He already decided that," he said. "2 days ago, I think. The night you found him." 8 months later, the July sun came down, warm and golden, over a small house on the good side of Birch Run, where the lake threw light up into the pines and the air smelled like cut grass and water. Carol Briggs sat on the porch with iced tea, and Nathan sat on the step with a cup of coffee, his bad back stretched out long, and neither of them said much, because they didn't need to. Out in the yard, a girl ran flat out through the grass, with a half-grown shepherd mix galloping beside her. The once broken leg, now strong and sure, and a big, black and amber German shepherd circling them both, barking with the kind of unadulterated joy that only animals who have known the opposite can show. Lily's laugh carried all the way to the porch. Lily's mother had a steady job now, days, at the clinic Carol's husband ran. Carol had seen to that. Scout had grown into a long-legged, bright-eyed dog who slept at the foot of Lily's bed and met her at the bus every afternoon. The leg that had been held wrong in a cardboard box now carried him across the whole yard without a hitch. Wade Coyle had been convicted of animal cruelty and, after the audit, Walsh's complaint set loose, of 2 counts tied to the rental properties and the misuse of the school's snow contract. He'd been sentenced to 18 months and ordered to pay restitution, and the family name had come quietly off the bank's letterhead that spring. The diner, people said, had gotten a good deal friendlier once folks no longer had a reason to be afraid. Nathan still ran the county roads. The metal in his back still woke him on cold mornings. But on the first Saturday of every month, he drove out to the little house. And the moment his truck turned in the drive, a girl and 2 dogs came running, and a man who had spent years not knowing what he was for found that he had finally, quietly, worked it out. Ranger walked into that yard like he was coming home, because as far as the dog was concerned, he was. His tail never stopped the whole time he was there. Peace had arrived. The story was over. Sometimes miracles don't arrive as thunder from the sky. Sometimes they sit quietly in the cab of a truck in a blizzard and watch a brave child do the right thing alone. And then they get out into the cold and make sure she doesn't have to do it by herself anymore. The world isn't saved by superheroes. It's saved by ordinary people who notice the ones everyone else has decided not to see. And by animals who carry a loyalty that human language has never been quite able to hold. God does not always still the storm, but he places the right people, and sometimes the right dogs, in exactly the right parking lot, on the exact night a child has run out of other people to count on. That little girl hid a puppy in a blizzard because she believed no one else would save it. She was almost right. The miracle wasn't that someone stronger came along. It was that someone was watching and chose not to look away. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to be reminded that kindness still finds people, even in the coldest places. Leave a comment and tell us where you're watching from. And tell us, have you ever watched someone do a brave, quiet thing that no one else noticed? Your story may be the one that reminds another person to stop and look closer. And if you believe in stories of service, loyalty, and the quiet courage of ordinary people, please subscribe to the channel so you never miss the next one. May God bless you, protect your family, bring peace to your home, and keep you watchful for the small brave ones who are trying to save something all by themselves tonight.